Um, so, hey everyone, thank you for coming to the second lecture in Tripod's lecture series. So for anyone who doesn't know, Tripod is a creative co-working space in Brixton, and we're lucky enough to be surrounded by super innovative, creative people working in design and tech. And here to speak to you today is Tomaso and Jonas of Boano Prišmontas. They're an amazing spatial design and architecture studio based in Brixton. And I think Meanwhile Space first worked with you guys when you won a competition to design a demountable fit-out structure to activate neglected railway arches. And actually that's the project that I was introduced to you by as well, because I just remember reading about it and thinking that the concept was amazing and that the whole project was so clever. So just to let everyone know, we're going to be recording this so it can be uploaded to the Tripod website and rewatched. And throughout, if anyone has any questions, just write them in the chat and we can pick them up at the end. So without further ado, Jonas and Tomaso, thank you for making the time to be here. And over to you guys.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Alex. Well, first of all, yeah, a massive thank you for having us today. It's a great pleasure, obviously. We are gonna talk about a project that kind of kept us busy for the last year, and I think it's always great to have this opportunity to talk about projects and kind of like show that no matter what happens in the world, it's always nice to keep like the design flow going and keep busy working on different things. Today we are like not in the same studio, not in the same office, as you see, like Tomaso.
Social distancing.
Exactly, Jonas is there. And yeah, I think I could probably start with the presentation, unless Jonas, you have anything to add?
No, go for it, man.
Yeah. Okay, so share the screen. Let's start. Here we go. See it? Here. Okay, Contagious, how design adapts. We really like this title and this series of lectures because, as I was saying earlier, like it's really important to show that designers are kind of they have a great strength in not giving up, and they are like they're kind of used to that mind frame since university, since they have to work many hours on projects. Yeah, so we probably grew up knowing that design world is exciting but also challenging. So when COVID happened, we had to find our way through it, and the presentation today talks about this. First of all, for who doesn't know, like just a very brief introduction showing like who we are and what we do. We are I would say mainly architectural firm, but we focus on anything that we find exciting. Therefore, we work on design pieces, bespoke furniture, artistic installation. We play with materials. We try to experiment as much as possible, and we have this way of working where we not only develop concepts, but we try to be hands-on, and we try to work out how to build, how to manufacture everything that we want to build. So our firm has like basically one part that is the office, and the other part that is like a workshop kind of area where we make things. Yeah. When COVID happened, we were like, okay, what do we do? I remember one day telling Jonas that, oh God, if COVID comes here, what are we gonna do? Like, like all projects are gonna stop. And basically that's what happened. The architectural projects like planning applications and works on site, everything stops, and there was a massive uncertainty. But instead of like claiming furlough and trying to wait and and wait for the thing to pass, we said, okay, we have the tools, we have capabilities, we have skills. We don't want to be bored, and we want to help. So what can we do? So we started manufacturing some face shields, helping the NHS, and in a very short amount of time, we put together a team that could help us with proper distancing and proper masks and all the measurements basically needed at the time. And we put together a system to stay active and to kind of show that we could do something that could be beneficial for this period, and try to solve as much as possible an issue that was like so big, that was like really affecting everyone's life. But after doing that, we kind of felt that we could have done more, and we could have like planned in the future kind of, and think of, okay, what people are going to need now, how can we make a difference in developing something that it will be useful and needed in this period. So
how can we also we be useful as architects, in this time?
Yeah, I mean, like we felt that instead of waiting, we had to adapt. We had to work out something based on what was going on. So we have a tradition, like we've been working on workspaces and affordable workspaces for a long time now. This is a project that we developed in 2016, and it was a strategy to create small pop-up studios, and mainly for designers or anyone that really needed a space where to craft, a space where to work on your things, on your hobbies and or exercise. So like your additional room that you could host in a backyard. And we built these as part of the London Festival of Architecture, and at the time we were using recycled upcycled desks that we took from school in East London. So it was probably the first project where we started thinking a way to create an affordable structure that could complement London backyards and add an additional space for people in need of an extra space. So we kind of combined this experience with this one. This is what we built with the Meanwhile space in Lambeth. It was a project here in Loughborough Junction for the Mayor of London, for the Lambeth Council, with Meanwhile space to kind of retrofit, or like I would say infill arches that are not in use, and transform them into an affordable space, like a sort of like an incubator space that was like a plug-in room to be completely freestanding. And I'm saying that I mean, you will see it in the next slides, but I'm saying that we combined this experience with this one, where we used a lot of plywood, and we kind of mastered a way to create all the joineries to be, efficient and strong. So we combined these two experiences into a new kind of space that we could prototype, that we could build. And we did all this basically during the lockdown, I would say. Like, I mean, it's been 1 year now, but like last year is when we started combining these two experiences and transformed it into something that now looks like this. This is a little pod. This is the smaller one that we built, and it's we built this like again like 1 month ago. And this is the smaller unit, and it kind of has some elements of the aesthetic of this one, plus the engineering, the modular attitude of these projects, but in something that is also different and unique on its own. So this project is called My Room in the Garden, and literally is your room in the garden. So as we know, we were all working from home. There was no space. Everyone was like really suffering. Our mental health was really suffering, because we were all stuck in a very small space. London standards are quite tight. Houses here are very tight, and the best space of the house, I would say, of our homes often is the garden, as the opportunity to have a garden, to have an outside space. But these spaces are massively utilized, because they can be used only in spring, I would say, spring and summer. But for 6 months of the year, they kind of stay dormant. They just stay there. And we thought like, oh, let's make use of these spaces. Let's create that additional work from home studio space that could help so many people that at the moment they're really struggling working in their living room. So we created a structure that could be easy to transport, easy to assemble, and as often do, like we always start from making models, from making 3D models, to try to understand the complexity of every detail. But the concept itself was extremely simple. We needed to create a system, so not a bespoke project, but a system that could be used in multiple ways. So like, instead of just having one unique studio, you have a system that can be expanded. Yeah. So the concept is to have a series of modules of 0.6 meters that can create a portal, basically, that has the walls, the floor, and the roof. These are elevated from the ground, so there's no dampness, there's no direct contact with the garden. And then the walls can have holes where you have you allow the light to come in and fill the space. And the entire structure is made of flat pack pieces. It's like a series of pieces that are made with the plywood, birch plywood sheets that are cut and then assembled, pre-assembled in modules and delivered on site. So the program is very simple. It's very we kind of thought out everything to be as simple as possible, really. And the fact that everything is a modular structure means that you can have small room, medium rooms, and large ones by just adding another module, another slice, I would say. So the benefits of creating a system means that this structure can be adapted to gardens of any size. So we worked with gardens that were extremely narrow, but this can be extended, and you can fill gardens of like 4 meters, 5 meters, 6 meters, and carry on. And because we wanted to kind of create something that could help as many people as possible, so not really limit on certain sizes. The height of these rooms is 2.5 meters, which is the maximum height that you can have without asking for planning. And everything inside is made with plywood, is birch plywood, and then outside is kind of wrapped in a polycarbonate corrugated sheet. This is needed because otherwise plywood would be in contact with the rain, and and the wind. So this sort of like double skin creates the kind of the protection needed for the space. One thing that we really like is how the corners that, as you can see in this photo, they are round. They are round not just because it's cool to have these grooves, but because the polycarbonate sheet is flexible. So there is a sort of a correspondence between the detailing of the piece, the structure of the wall, and the cladding. So it's like if the aesthetic of these pods corresponds to the structural needs of the pod itself. Yeah. All modules can be moved easily, can be stored, I mean, can be loaded on a van, delivered on site. This means that 1 to 2 people maximum can carry all these pieces that are pre-assembled and then moved on site. And as you can see, everything is very lightweight. So we had to think about what was the best way to create a structure that was really strong, but at the same time lightweight and easy to move and to carry on site. All the modular pieces are connected by just using bolts. In this way, it's very easy and simple and quick to build one of these rooms. In fact, we can build one of these rooms in just 1 day. All elements, meaning the floor, the roofs, and the walls, can be insulated. This is an optional part. Like, you know, customers can choose basically if they want to have a room in a simple standard, with a simple standard specs, or if they want a fully insulated pod. In this case, it comes with a rigid insulation that is like sandwiched, I would say, in the module, so you don't see it. But it's kind of like, you know, it's quite a good way to create a comfortable space that it's affordable and easy to build. Because, you know, all these insulation boards can be cut, so it can be precisely fit in the wall panels. And as you can see in all these details, the panels simply just slot and join in on the base, and so it's a very quick process, and it's often kind of nice to see how the clients come out and say like, oh yeah, please build it here, and then after half an hour they come back and the structure is there, and they're like, oh, it's built. So this is we've already built like 4 of these structures, and despite every site being kind of different, we see how great is the fact that you can move pieces that are like strong but also lightweight, you know, because it really makes a great difference, you know, being able to pre-assemble and move everything on site. As you can see on the base in this photo, the structure is sitting on plastic risers. In this way, there is a flow of air that pass underneath, and there's a sort of like there is a gap between the ground and the plywood structure. Other details that you can see here: the corrugation, the plastic, the door that can just be fitted in one piece, and the final outcome of this space is like having an extra room that is cozy. You know, we really like to use plywood because plywood always brings this sort of like a warm coziness to the space, and each wall can also be customized. So again, we like how every client can choose if they need a peg wall and have desks, or if they instead need another panel that can be mirrored, it can be like a color, or can be anything else. Really, we are really open to customers that want to customize this sort of spaces, because you don't, I mean, we don't like to think that architects always dictate how things look like. We much rather like, giving the opportunity for people to customize things. So we create a system, and then customers can choose how the space will best respond to the way they will use the space. This is another photo that shows my room in the garden, in a garden. As you can see, the fact that we have this transparent corrugated sheet lets you also like see the plywood. So we really wanted to blend the space, blend the room in the space, so not having a pod that would be like too strong, and like something that really speaks the language of the nature, kind of. We really like to show the grain of the plywood, not only from the inside but also from the outside. And inside there is this strong connection always, between you working inside, or you reading or doing whatever, like doing like you're working on your craft, but at the same time feeling that you are outside, because having this little travel distance, between the inside of your house and the garden, it's important. It's important because you can switch off, you can have this sort of you need to cross 10 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute, you need to cross a space, and you can think of like what you want to do, what you need to do, emails, so you don't feel like trapped in your house working on your emails and Zoom calls. So it's really nice to have like a separate space where to work. The fact that this is a freestanding structure also, that's you don't need to dig, you don't need to alter anything in the garden, means that this is a pod not only for homeowners but also people that are renting. So if you have an access to basically a backyard, you can have one of these, and then if you move out, you can dismantle every single piece and bring it to another home, really. So this is another thing that we really wanted to kind of work on, the fact that these pieces are demountable and can be moved. So there is like this topic of like giving to the project not just one sort of life, but multiple lives. So the project can be moved, and this is something that we learned, I would say, when we did the Arches project, because that was also like a structure that could be taken down and then moved to another place. In this particular photo, you see how the backyard was extremely tight, but we managed to fit one of these pods. Although in this photo it was a work in progress, so you don't see that. I mean, there's no cladding here, but in the pod, usually we also need to clad all the surfaces. But it was kind of to show that even in a very small space, you can still create a cozy, nice extra room for you to work. And this is an example, and this is us building the whole thing. So I would say that maybe, unless Jonas wants to add something, I can show the video.
No, I think you covered it all.
Oh,
I think maybe one point I would mention that the size of it, 0.6 meter, is not only dictated by the fact that it's one of the standard dimensions in design world. It's also based on the standard size sheet, which is 8 by 4 foot, which is 1.2 meters. So you divide that in two, you get 600 millimeter. And also the size relates to the fact that you need to be able to carry it through the garden. So as you will see in the video, that you're carrying the pieces through the narrow doorways, going like sometimes you need to go down the stairs, for example, and the Victorian houses are very complicated. Sometimes you don't have access from the outside, from the garden. So that's another reason for having that kind of size. And yeah, all the dimensions are kind of they arrive from the fact that we're using the standard sheet, standard size sheets that are all off-shelf material. So the only customization happens when we design it. So that's the only bespoke thing is when we do the detailing of how things come together. But all the components like the corrugated panels and the structural plywood, they are all off-shelf materials, and we don't need to get anything bespoke. I think that's all I have to input.
Okay, so I played this video that kind of shows the entire process from shows how we made it really, and I will try to comment on it with I try to turn off the music. No. There we go. Okay, so this is how we were making all parts with plywood using a CNC machine. So everything is basically digitally fabricated. We assembled it, and then we worked out every single detail one by one. We really like to prototype everything and make sure everything works well, not just on paper, really. So we worked with a wider team. So we work with metal workers, engineer, everyone to kind of make sure that everything was thought through. Like, okay, yeah, this is this shows how we bring all the panels in easily through the houses in London. Careful not to hit anything. And then creating these pods, yeah, in tight spaces. This is another one that we built. As you can see, you build the base first, then insert all the walls, everything slots in easily, and yeah, I mean, this can virtually be built even by one person if if the person really knows what to do. But like with two people, you can build this in a really a matter of a couple of hours. Obviously, there is a bit of work that needs to be done maybe at the end, to finish off the door, the roof, but it's something it's manageable by anyone that has a sort of like a DIY attitude. And yeah, so I think, as Jonas said, I've covered pretty much all the aspects. So I will be more than happy to respond to your questions, if any.
Thank you so much, guys. That was so interesting. It's really amazing to see a project that's so functional and yet so carefully considered, like aesthetically as well from a design perspective. There's a few questions in the chat for you.
Nice.
But I'm going to be really selfish because I had a question I wanted to ask you. Just from a technical perspective, with the curved edges, do the slits in the plywood enable, like, does that allow for the edges to be curved, or do you have to bend the wood as well?
Basically, you're talking about the plywood, yeah?
Yeah.
So in order for the plywood to be bent, we use 18 millimeter plywood, which is quite thick, so you will never bend it unless you maybe steam it for ages. So what we do, we cut the grooves. So we score the plywood sheets and then we bend it, yeah. And that's the only way, because you basically take out I don't know, 12 14 millimeters every 10 12. In this way it becomes more flexible, and it really matters if the lines are like vertical or they have a different, kind of orientation. But by taking out the vertical lines, then you're able to bend it like that.
It makes a lot of sense. I was imagining you guys steaming huge amounts of plywood in your workshop, and I was thinking surely that can't be possible.
Not possible. But it's interesting to see how kind of the spacing between all the lines makes the plywood stronger or not. So we did a couple of tests, and you basically work out what's the best. But couple of tests broke, snapped, so you need to really understand what's the spacing that you need. And this again is something that we always do prototyping. Because if you design something that is new, you don't know. You know only when you try, and when you try to make it work. So that's the process.
And I guess also if you've managed to create a type of if you've managed to create a system, as you call it, that allows for plywood to be bent, then I guess you can apply that in so many different shapes as well. And it doesn't just have to be in this, like if you've created a solution to a wood bending problem, then that's amazing.
There is something that actually we wanted to test that we haven't tested yet because it's not enough time. But if you cut the lines not only in vertical, but if you intersect them, then you're able to also work out a surface that can be bent onto axis, basically. So that will be the next project.
That would be, I would want to play with that. That sounds amazing. I'm just going to ask a few people's questions. So Aaron has said your projects have a really simple they have such simple and creative joints. What is your process in making them?
I will ask Jonas to respond to this. He's the wizard here.
We try to make them in the most simple way. Basically, well, is it about the joints that allow the panels to be joined together, or is it about the joints that allow the pieces to be joined together in making the module? Either way, I mean, we try to make it in something not too complicated, so we don't spend too much time machining it, and something that we can fix in, and then add a couple of wood screws probably to keep it in place. So yeah, we try to make it very simple for us to assemble the modules and then to assemble the pieces on site. And yeah, the speed of construction, I think that's the driving factor of it.
I think that this is again an important point, because the fact that we often assemble these, or like someone from our team has to assemble this, we don't want to struggle, so we try to understand what's the easiest way to build, and at the same time it has to be easy but strong but also beautiful. You try to make a nice joints. You need to have a bit of OCD maybe, like to make sure that everything is aligned perfectly. But the fact that you create everything in 3D first and then you prototype it allows you to really test every single part. So that's the process.
And another question that I actually had for you was what's the most creative use of the space you've seen so far?
It was one of our clients is using it to make models, to make models of airplanes or boats, if I'm not wrong.
That's so sweet.
that's really sweet. I think he started it as a way to work, but then I guess many people enjoy the fact that in these spaces you don't only have to work, but you can also find concentration and focus on working on what you like. So you basically have your own your own man cave, woman cave, your own space where to lock out the family, the stress, London, just work on your things, and that's a great value, I think.
Yeah, I think Jen said in the chat that it's great to see an example of the power of architecture to improve mental health and well-being. And I think, yeah, Jen's completely right, as you say as well. It definitely does that. Another question is, what do you see for the project in the future? Do you envisage it being scaled up or scaled down?
Yeah, I think we are already working on something along these lines. We cannot show anything yet, but we will soon be showing images of a new project that we are working on, where we kind of trying to upscale this system to more like architectural kind of scale. So there is obviously one stream that is building these garden rooms and provides people with as many garden rooms as possible, but at the same time this system has the potential, you know, of working as a independent building or extension or anything else, you know, of this kind. So like bigger.
I can imagine it in some sort of, I don't know, you could create a village of pods. It could be,
Yeah.
I
mean, we are testing now, like doing 2 levels, which is challenging but interesting.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Martin's asked, what system do you use for ventilation?
Nice. Well, the doors themselves, they do have the slots for the ventilation, but we often install like grills that you can open and close. So you do need ventilation in this space, because it's such a small space that it keeps the warmth in, but you need, you know, air to move.
And last question, how do you connect to electricity?
Okay, so we provide a floor-mounted socket that is connected to a box that is hidden underneath. And this box is just a weatherproof box, like external graded box, where with a cable, and the cable goes back to the main house. In this way, you just plug the cable in any socket, and then you have electricity in the phone. Other clients, they asked us to have like a proper kind of like a separate circuit and everything, but that's something that can be done with an electrician. Like what we gave as part of this kit is a long cable that connects back to the house.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's so smart and so simple and yet so effective. I think that is just about all the questions, and unless anyone else has any more questions, that's kind of bang on perfect timing as well. Thank you guys so much. That was so fascinating. Really enjoyed hearing about it. Where can people find you? Where can they follow you?
Okay, so I know that our surnames are not the easiest to spell, but you can find us in on Instagram at Boano Prišmontas, or on our website www.boanoprišmontas.com. But if you want to specifically find this project has a separate set of links. Like we have myroominthegarden.com for the website, and at myroominthegarden for Instagram or Facebook.
And I guess if
we have been too many people like interfering between, like, you know, architectural projects and these projects, all writing on the same email, and you just go crazy.
And I guess if people purchase one of your My Rooms in the Garden, then they get to meet you, or maybe do you go and set them up yourself, or?
Yeah, I mean, we did at the beginning. Now we are kind of trying to have a team that is a part of our team, but we always go. I mean, we always go to meet the clients and to make sure that everything goes well. But yeah, I mean, we had many people asking about these rooms also outside the UK, which is great. I mean, it's wonderful, although we are not ready yet to to ship these rooms across the channel, not only because of Brexit, but also because it's a bigger kind of operation. But we would love next year, to expand as much as possible. At the moment, we are focused on the UK and London, but yeah, just contact us, and then we'll be happy to help.
It's really, really exciting. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for being here. It's such a pleasure to have an insight into the work that you do. Just to let everyone know, our next tripod lecture will be with Binky and Sarah of the Brixton Project. They're like a local arts organisation. They're also pretty incredible, and that's on the 27th of April. There'll be a link posted soon, and I can email anyone that's interested. So thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you
very
much.
welcome. Yeah, thank you so much. Have a great evening.
Cheers.